All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Molly McGurr. I am the Events and Program Manager for Traverse Connect, and we are so excited to have you here with us today, as well as NMC. A friendly reminder, this is for you. So we do encourage you to ask any and all questions that you may have. How you're able to do that is there is a Q&A button located at the bottom of your screen. So you can go ahead and submit any questions you may have there. I won't read your name off when the question's coming through for privacy reasons, but you can also submit them anonymously as well if you would like, or feel free to use the chat box and send those to me directly. I also did want to mention that this will be recorded today and will be shared on our social media platforms and our website within 24 hours. So on that note, I would now like to turn it over to Brenda. Brenda, thanks for being here with us today.
Thank you, Molly. So hi, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Brenda McClellan, and I am the Director of Investor Engagement with Traverse Connect. And I am happy to introduce our guest today from NMC. And I'll begin with Jason Slade. Jason oversees 8 disciplines and 12 specializations as Director of the Technical Academic Areas at Northwestern Michigan College. Prior to this role, he was a faculty member in the Engineering Technology program, teaching courses in electronics and electrical systems. And before coming to NMC, Jason was a program coordinator at Mont Community College and an electrical engineer in the automotive industry. He is passionate and about connecting with students to high demand careers in the technology industry. And with us also today, we have Ed Bailey. Ed is the Director of Operations and Business Development for the Marine Center at Northwestern Michigan College. NMC provides comprehensive geospatial applications training solutions for the maritime, surveying, and remote sensing industries. There's an emphasis in place on collecting and processing accurate, usable data on the natural and constructed world around us. Expert instructors utilize data collection systems that operate on land, in the air, and in the marine environment. Ed has a Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering from Michigan State University and will complete his Master's in Science in Project Management from the University of Wisconsin-Platteville in the spring of 2021. So with that, I will hand it all over to Ed. Thanks for being here with us today, Ed.
Thank you. And thank you, participants, for taking part in this webinar. I realize there's probably a lot of other things you'd rather be doing on this perfect fall day than listen to a webinar on technical training, but we'll try to keep it as entertaining as possible. Really, our plan today was to talk about NMC's role in technical training. As Brenda sort of alluded to, we have a very technical set of academic programs, and we are leveraging that, or want to leverage that more into a technical training type program. So we'll walk through that. I'll talk briefly about some of the changing roles for technical program delivery, and this is due primarily to what's going on in the education environment as a result of the COVID, but also trends in industry of what folks are looking for. And then really the message that we want to leave everybody with today is that, you know, we are here to be your partner in workforce development. We struggle a little bit because we are very broad and reaching in what our approach to workforce development, and so people sometimes are not sure how best to engage with us. And so our hope really for today's webinar and the message we'd like to leave with you is, you know, if you're interested in any type of training, no matter what form that may take, give us a call and we'll figure out some type of solution, and we'll show you some examples of some pretty broad-based solutions. By way of background, community colleges, of which there are 28 in the state of Michigan, provide most of the workforce development and training in the state. You can see on the slide there that they issue a fair number of associate's degrees. NMC also does issue bachelor's degree, both in Great Lakes Maritime Academy and Marine Technology, but they are the leaders in workforce development. And that takes basically multiple forms in terms of apprenticeship, custom training solutions, industry partners, and that partnership can be almost anything you can imagine. But the other piece of this that we can provide is funding. There's a lot of state and federal funding available for training. And so if you have some interest in some of those areas of training and workforce, we can help and build, not only provide the training, but find the funding as well. And then finally, we're always open and do a lot of partnerships in terms of grant funding. And again, there's a fair amount of money out there as a result of that. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jason to let him talk more about NMC and some of the programming that we offer. So thank you.
Thanks, Ed. And thank you, everybody, for joining today. As Ed kind of alluded to in that previous slide, the community college model and the community college can provide lots of different opportunities. And so what I wanted to do was kind of break down what those look like. Because if I'm an employer, if I'm in your shoes and I'm trying to figure out how to get training or how to re-educate my workforce or how to retrain and retool, I don't always know where to start. And it can be daunting when you hit our website or you reach out to somebody, you kind of feel like you get lost into a maze. So as Ed said, our goal is to kind of give you some contacts here at the college that you can reach out to, and then specifically show you the areas that we have to offer and then how to enter those. So one of the first things that you see on this slide is we kind of break out our areas into what we call academic areas and then professional and workforce development. So you can think of the academic areas as those traditional degree and certificate granting programs. That's where our apprenticeships reside. And so that's something that's a little bit unique. So if you have an apprenticeship opportunity, they also live in that academic realm. And so these are our core classes or our traditional class structure. So this could be an 8-week course, a 4-week course, a 2-week course, a 16-week course. But these are classes that a student would enter. They would register at NMC, they'd have an advisor, one of us, and we would guide them to a program. For a company, they might send a group of students through one of these academic classes or through one of these academic programs with the goal of maybe earning a certificate or just bundling some classes together for a skill set. So that's what our traditional academic side looks like, that left-hand side of that slide. As you transition over to the right, we have professional and workforce development courses. So these are classes that might focus on a specific skill set, a specific competency, or a specific area. These could be pre-packaged, so meaning we already have some in existence, whether it's in land surveying or marine technology or electronics or electrical or anything that you see on that list. They can also be customized based on an industry partner, based on a group of industry partners or a particular sector. One of the things or the advantages that we offer, and we can talk about this more as we progress, is as you navigate between what I would call these NMC branded areas, so whether it's academic courses or professional workforce development, there's synergy between those two. So we can actually move between these regions with relative ease since we're under the same NMC umbrella. And so what we'll kind of focus in as we move forward is how can you leverage these areas for your needs and can you dabble in each area? I think one of the key components that is missed is what a driver NMC is for the region and really community colleges are. You know, we have 28 community colleges in the state of Michigan and they play a vital role in the economic health of their region. You know, and extends outside their traditional county area out into an area, 5-county or 10-county area region. And we have a lot of regional programs as well. And so one of the impacts that we offer is, you know, basically 1 out of 22 jobs in the region is supported by NMC. And so as we partner up with different industry partners and different companies, we can really grow that. And that's an effort of, you know, Traverse City Connect and other entities in the region to try to diversify this workforce, to try to make it a higher end, higher tech workforce, and we can really provide that catalyst. So a couple different pathways on here. So we have traditional technical pathways, and sometimes we can get lost in the language. So the first barrier is if you're thinking about a skill and you look at our website and you don't see it, don't stop there. Reach out to Ed and I. We probably have dealt with it. We can help you deal with it. We have a partner that can do it, or it's buried somewhere. So we have our broad engineering technology program. And what that is that's a level of competencies. You know, it's electronics, it's fluid power, it's CAD. And then we can jump into specialization. So that's unmanned aerial systems, that's marine technology, that's robotics and automation, where we can customize some pieces. So for instance, we've done some work with Munson, where we were able to expand our engineering technology program to include biomedical equipment technicians. So here we are working with an industry partner in town here that had a need, and we were able to customize some of these key competencies. We can move into advanced manufacturing, IT, surveying, and then also our marine technology, which is a bachelor's degree, which is a whole subset of skills in and of itself. And so those are going to live in our technical degree areas. One of the key components is we have lots of on and off ramps on there. So we have our professional development. So you're looking at our geospatial applications, surveying, marine technology. And the idea is we don't want you to have to choose a way to come into one of our programs. If you already have an employee that maybe is an NMC student or is working through a technical degree or certificate, then we can streamline their process and help him or her identify the path that gets them to that credential that you need. If you're just trying to feel out your employees, or you're looking at skill sets and say, hey, I think we need to learn this right now, or I really need to upskill my current employees, I just want to offer this type of pathway, we can find some sort of mechanism that works, and Ed will go into that. But what the key of this slide is to look at, we have different on and off ramps, and our goal is to have more of these on and off ramps. The idea of that traditional setting where you're going to come in and 2 years later, we're going to spit you out with an associate's degree, that doesn't always work in today's fast-paced environment. So we have our traditional credit path, which has been tried and true, it's tested, we know it works. We have an apprenticeship pathway, and so we have apprenticeships with a number of companies in town, everything from electromechanical technicians to arborists, into the business side and into advanced manufacturing. And so that gives you a little bit of on-the-job training and credit classes that complement each other so that you can work your way through a defined apprenticeship. We give credit for military experience and on-the-job training. So if somebody already has done some work in the field, or they have been in the military and they've worked, let's say, as an electronics technician, we can grant them credit for that. And that allows them not to have to repeat courses that don't make any sense. And so really it's that blending of credit and non-credit that Ed and I really want to emphasize.
So to follow on to what some of the things Jason has said, when it comes to what we call technical professional development, what we've done is basically leverage the technologies that make these academic programs work into professional development opportunities. And I'll use that word because we try to be really open in terms of the professional development opportunities we give people. And you can see on the bottom of the screen that we've developed a set of courses around these areas. But maybe just to back up to sort of emphasize, the kind of technical professional and type of technical programming we have. NMC has a marine technology degree. It's a Bachelor of Science. It is the only degree in the country like this. Our graduates currently have 100% job placement. They're all over the world, and they're involved in pretty much anything that's underneath the water. So when it comes to mapping the infrastructure, the marine infrastructure, both Great Lakes and in the oceans, it's infrastructure work, it's recovery. A lot of our students end up doing military recovery work. And so it's a really broad-based career. And we've taken all that technology, and that means both physical assets, classrooms, equipment. We have a vessel, we have 4 ROVs that we can leverage and to provide those training opportunities. And so as I continue to talk about marine technology, some of the highly specialized training we do is for folks like NOAA, Office of Naval Intelligence. And again, I sort of emphasized at the beginning of this conversation was that these folks came to us with a need, and we put these programs together based on their needs. So Office of Naval Intelligence, basically they're looking for things, I'll use that word term loosely, the potential problems with infrastructure around the Marines, and so in the marinas. And so we built a set of courses to help them become trained in that. The other area is surveying. We are the only 2-year surveying technician school in the state of Michigan. Our graduates come, or our students come from all over the state and then get placed all over the state. And so we've partnered in this case with Leica Geosystems, which is one of the largest providers of surveying technologies. They give us close to $1 million a year worth of equipment that we then use and allow our students to use. It keeps them current on the most the current technologies. And so again, we've leveraged this into a series of courses that allow us to sort of help that industry. to maintain your license as a professional licensed surveyor, you need 30 hours of continuing credits every year. And so we've built a series of courses for that industry to help meet that criteria. Then finally, under geospatial applications, that's really been lumped as a kind of a broad-based technologies. It involves everything from data collection. So we do have an unmanned aerial systems degree and pathway, but what's happened is that has become more of a toolkit for surveyors, for marine technicians. And so what's important about, and why we've sort of gravitated towards geospatial, is that it's all about the collection of data, processing of data, and then the presenting of data in a format that's highly usable to an end client. And so again, we built a series of technologies and courses in support of that, so that allow an individual who may be strong in surveying and wants to understand the applications of drones to surveys, they can come and take a course and help us build those competencies out. And that applies across all of our different areas. I'm going to shift gears just a little bit, not to sort of bore you with trends in education, because I'm not sure it's relevant if you're looking for training, but to understand what's going on in the academic industry. And there's a pretty phenomenal shift going, and it's been sort of exacerbated or accelerated by the COVID pandemic, is that individuals are really less looking for academic degrees than skills. They're looking for personalization across industries so that they can have these very unique skill sets, and they're focused on basically short skill or short-term, short skill-specific credentials. And again, this other side sort of emphasize that is, this is a recent survey based on 6 months worth of data collection that people are really interested in that skills training, non-degree credentialing. So as Jason alluded to, we are beginning to move in that direction by building what we call competency-based models. Again, it allows for people to enter our programs, off-ramps, on-ramps, either through traditional academic pathways, military training experience, or workforce development. And then we create what we call these accelerated learning strategies, which is really the solution, those short-term degree training that allow to get the competencies. And then those competencies then can build towards a degree, because there's still an interest in some folks building towards academic pathways. So again, it's kind of a brief, relatively quick overview of some of the things that we are doing, but the whole idea is to respond to industry demand and basically find a model that allows you, if you're interested in training, how do you come to us and build that model that works for your specific industry? So again, you can see from this graphic that there is a pretty substantial demand, and continues to be, for a technical workforce. There are gaps, especially if you look at like aerospace and defense. You know, it's a huge gap in terms of how are they going to meet their business plans, because they don't have the people. I think you may have seen some of the press that's been out lately with the Michigan Aerospace Manufacturing Association, which is the bottom of the slide. You know, they recently announced basically a horizontal launch facility in Oscoda. There's a vertical launch facility being planned for Marquette, and there's a potentially command and control center being developed, hopefully in Grand Traverse. And so a big piece of all of that was, how do you provide a technical workforce? And so we are working to become a partner in all of that. And it's an example of how we want to partner with almost anybody. There are three other examples there that I think Jason alluded to. Munson came to us with a shortage for biomedical technicians. We built a program in support of those folks. It's a true partnership, because they also provide us some equipment. They provided us individuals that act as trainers and or instructors. The photonics industry, very similar. So again, the message behind all of this is, you know, if you're interested in developing a relationship or a partnership or providing training, you know, it really starts with a conversation. The relationships can be formal or as informal as you may want. They can be small or large. We have single apprenticeships. We have multiple apprenticeships. They can be statewide programs, and they can include other programs at colleges as well. So for example, in our survey, because we provide the technical training, you know, students can go get a lot of their general education or other training at their local community college, Grand Rapids, Lansing, Macomb, and then transfer those credits to us. And so this partnership can take almost any form that you feel works best for your industry. and then I'll kind of maybe leave it with that. It, you know, kind of all starts with a conversation, that if there's interest or things that we can help you with, just give either one of us a call.
Hey, Ed, real quick, if you don't mind going back one slide on there. I think one of the keys is to let us know what we're missing. As Ed was talking about, you know, we're developing, you know, whether it's a micro credential or a certification or an industry recognized certificate or assessment. And if you see that we don't have it, then that's something that we can add. So all those conversations or all those industry partners that we had on the previous slide there, that all started with just an outreach. And really it was that initial conversation that was, what's difficult was, we need this and you don't have it, you know, and it allows us to kind of step back and see where our gaps are, and then make sure that we're designing and creating something for you that makes sense. And so we don't always know exactly what we're missing if we don't have those, you know, real and honest conversations. And so as you're navigating through some of the educational opportunities or training opportunities out there, if you find those gaps, that's what we use as kind of that starting point for us is we don't want to develop something that doesn't work for you. We don't want to have a credential out there that's meaningless. We want to find something that's relevant to your industry right now or relevant to where you see it's going, so that we can be part of that building process for you. And I think sometimes from the outside looking in, it looks difficult, or it's a tough task to navigate through. But really, as Ed said, it's forming those relationships, because if it's a small company or a small opportunity out there, then we can find something customized or singular that works. If it looks like it's going to branch across the sector, then maybe it's something that we have that's more robust. And as Ed alluded to at the beginning, with the COVID changes in education due to COVID, we're definitely into including other partners or looking at things or making it easier for our students. So we have a number of students that are sponsored by industry right now that only come up to our campus 1 or 2 days a week, and they're spending the rest of their time in Southwest Michigan working for their employer. And so we can find those opportunities and make them kind of align with your needs. Thanks, Ed.
And again, you know, the best way to start this conversation is to, you know, give us a call. I always sort of had this tagline that, you know, we have some of the best programs at NMC that nobody knows about. And I'll allude back to our marine technology program. I think there's a lot of people that don't understand how deep and complicated and how robust this program is, and that we really provide the industry training and workforce for that whole industry sector. And there are some big names that are part of that, and it's a global enterprise as much as it is anything else. And so there are huge opportunities to leverage that technology and the application of those technologies and those business partners. And so again, it all starts with a conversation, and if you have questions, feel free to reach out to either one of us. So I think at that point, we'll turn it back over to Molly and Brenda to see if there are questions that we can help answer.
I'm just kind of laughing at your last slide there. I was awake the whole time.
So we have the, I mean, first of all, we understand presentations can be slow and boring, but we also have this ongoing conversation with our students that says, if you fall asleep in our class, we're taking your picture and we're going to use it at the next presentation. So
good.
You'll be surprised at how much it keeps them awake.
Well, we do have a few questions, so I'll go ahead and dive right in. The first question is, are there any plans to create more trainings related to cloud computing as an alternative to on-premise servers and data?
Yeah, and so we have our CIT program is in the process of moving a number of their classes, not only remote, but then also updating their networking and cybersecurity courses on there. And so that's a prime example of how we can help you out. So if you look through that, there wasn't much CIT or computer information systems from Ed and I, but that doesn't mean we can't align you with the person that does. And so for that particular question, what we would do is get the contact information. We do the introductions. We would not leave you hanging. So it won't be this blind email to some who knows inbox on there, and Ed and I would line you up. So for that particular question, we'd work with our program coordinator for computer information systems, and then part of their networking faculty could give you an update on their changes. I know that they've made a lot of changes across the board through this summertime to try to get into our fall schedule and have another series out there. So for that particular question, I'll work with Molly to get that contact information and hook that person up with our CRT program.
Perfect. Thank you for that. The next question is, you talked about partnership with industry and industry sectors. Can you expand on how these relationships were developed, and do you have any set criteria to make this work?
So as far as set criteria, no. And I think I'll try to address that one first, because that tends to be the biggest barrier people have to wanting to work with us for workforce development or partnership, is they don't know where to begin, or there's a general feeling they have to have some predefined, some certain size to them. So the answer is no, there's no real criteria. And we do things as small as training one person, letting people rent our classroom space for their professional society meetings. So it can be really broad. And I think, what was the first part of that question, Molly?
The first question was how you talked about partnership with industry and industry sectors. Can you expand on how these relationships were developed?
Okay, so go ahead, Jason.
Well, I was going to say that the development part, I think you nailed it, is, you have to just reach out to us. So we have an advisory board. So tomorrow I have an engineering tech advisory board at 7:30 a.m. I would love to get more people on it, because that's what drives our academic programs. And a lot of them on that board might just be from the training side. So that's a very formal connection, though it's actually way lower key than it sounds. Really, we look for you to help guide our program. And then, like Ed said, it's just making those initial connections. So as I look at my inbox right here, I have outreach from 4 companies in town that are either looking for employees or looking for training. And those we have various levels of commitment with. So some we really do have a defined program that we're supporting, and some it's more an auxiliary relationship. They have a few employees in our program. They count on us to do some outreach. We count on them to do some connections back to our classroom, talk about industry or industry trends on there. So the criteria can be really in depth, like a true partnership where we are working step by step with you. It can also just be a relatively loose relationship as we define some training or some connections. But I think the first part is just to gauge your level of comfort and kind of feel it out. Ed, wouldn't you say that's how many of our advisory board connections have started?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, the thing that it's hard to articulate really well is that, we provide this broad-based training. So we will have a partner came to us and wanted to train 4 people on aluminum welding. So, and basically we built a program to help support that need. It wasn't difficult for us because we have the facilities, but they had just this sort of in-house demand for 4 or 5 folks and gave us a call. We figured out how best to make this work, and we worked on the time frame. So they wanted their employees there during the day, so at the end of their shift they would then come over and do the training for 1 day a week. So again, it's those kind of, what you need is really to help define that, and then we can see if we've got a good fit, come with basically make that partnership work.
Perfect. The next question was, you mentioned funding. Can you expand on the funding opportunities you're referring to, and what can those funds be used for?
So there's all kinds of funding out there for apprentice-based programs. So if you want to build an apprentice, provide funding for the training. The training is what they call required technical instruction. But that, again, can be anything from safety training to academic training or technical training. But so apprenticeships is a mechanism for training. We work closely with Networks Northwest, and they have a fair amount of workforce development training, and so we work to leverage that. There's a thing called the New Jobs Training Act, which also provides funding for new jobs. And so there's lots of venues out there. And so if there's a specific industry sector, a specific area that there's some interest in, just give us a call and we'll see if we can put together something or put you in contact with the right person.
Wonderful. Are you open to developing professional development programs? and or courses specific class, or I'm sorry, course specific classes specific to this industry sector, and they can be delivered remotely?
Yes. So the reason I would, I guess, provide some level of hesitation, it depends on the courses, because in some cases it's really hard to do remotely applied technologies. So if it's in a hands-on environment, it's tough to do that and be really effective. We think it's really important to have a quality program. And so, for example, maybe I'll make this short, which should be a short answer long, but in marine technology, it's really hard to be good at ROV operations or sonar data acquisition remotely. So you really need to be in the field. And so what we've done is basically responded with safety precautions and social distancing to allow us to do this with a smaller set of folks and still get that applied hands-on training safely. But to the extent that we can deliver as much of what I would call, content or reading that's available online, we do that. And it's more of a hybrid format.
Yeah, and as Ed said, hybrid is our ideal way if we're going to deliver the hands-on aspect of a particular class or PD. The only exception would be is if we had a group that maybe was from one industry partner or multiple industry partners in the same field, we could deliver the technical content or the knowledge base criteria, and then we could work with that company to develop a checklist of skills that they could do on the job. So for instance, we've done this in another program right now where we're delivering some of the electrical fundamentals. So, as we work our way through the NEC and other requirements as it pertains to the job. And then the students in that particular class are getting the hands-on experience at work, and their supervisor is checking off their activities as they go. So we have some predefined things that they need to do, and then we're using that for some of that competency. That works much better in a PD type environment because we know that we have people from the same company and they're going to get the same experience on there. But that's something that we could always dabble in or kind of expand out if we had the right course and the right layout.
And just a follow-up question to that, if you did and or do have these courses, where would people find this information at? Would it be specific to that organization? Would this be something that they would look for on your website? Where would they find that information?
So Ed, I think the best place to start is nmc.edu/PD. Yep, that was on that page that you're on. So that'll take you to this website right here. So nmc.edu/PD, and that'll take you there. When it comes to the technical content, that can be a little harder to find. So if you make it to this point, we can get you the rest of the way there. Though in these slides, Ed did show that it was the /technical on there. Ed, do you think that's probably the right route?
I think so too. I mean, it is, I'll be honest, it is kind of a weakness of trying to find your way through our academic programs, because our web page is basically built for an academic program, less so than for professional development. But if you get to, as Jason said, the professional workforce development page, the nmc.edu/PD, you will see this. This will take you to a list of courses. And then here, these are the specific classes that we offer kind of an ongoing basis. But it doesn't mean if you don't see something there that you don't really like or doesn't fit for you, we can build that for you. And we continue to sort of build that out as we get more and more demand. So for example, we had some recent interest in building out basically terrain mapping, kind of a primer course. And so we're in the process of pulling that together. We're also building a geospatial survey fundamentals course. So different types of applications of newer technologies. And so we can build those for you if you don't see them on a particular web page.
Wonderful. The next question is NMC positioned to do research?
No. We are really an applied technology organization. So if people want to do research space, we're probably not the right folks. We can probably find the right university. We have partnerships with Michigan Tech and Michigan State. and Western, so we could help move you towards the pure research. We do work with companies on applied technologies, which isn't really research, but so for example, if a company in some of our partnerships, either Fugro or R2Sonic, have a new piece of equipment that they would like to test out, we make a really good test bed for them, because their general feeling is if a student can make it work, anybody can make it work. And so we do, and then the benefit for us and our students is we get our hands on some of this newer technology. So again, Molly, kind of a long answer to what should have been a short question, so apologize.
No, that's good to know. I think it's really useful information. And it looks like the last question we have here is, can the college provide training facilities or host events on a smaller scale in support of this industry?
We can on there, so we can work through the particulars of whether it's the use of space or the use of a lab or assigning instructor. We do have some restrictions in place right now due to COVID, so the answer will change as we navigate through the various stages. And so, you know, the answer right now for a particular lab or a particular space may be no, unless it's tied in with an actual training or course that NMC is offering, but that doesn't mean in 6 months it won't be open back again. So it's kind of a two-part answer, just because we've had to turn down a few things that we've done in the past, just as we try to stay open safely, because we are running credit classes right now face to face. There's one in the lab outside my window, and so we're just trying to limit exposure on campus. But as we make our way through that, we'll be back up and able to host those events. However, those are things that we can start getting in the calendar now, or identifying maybe that's something we can do based on the size.
That's really good to know, because I know that's a problem for a lot of people, is where do they even host events or having that space available. So that's really great information. I don't see any additional questions coming through, but as always, if anyone does have any additional questions, you can reach out to myself or Brenda directly. We can definitely get you in direct contact with both Jason and Ed to get any and all questions answered. And in the meantime, we just really want to thank you both for your time today, for sharing all your expertise and knowledge. This was very helpful and a really great resource to our entire community.
Thank you for having us. It was a great opportunity, and we're glad to share.
Again, thank you, and I thank the participants for spending the last 40 minutes with us on a really beautiful day.
And I will just chime in and thank you both. We are, to everyone out there, we are working on round 2. We will probably connect again, Jason, Ed, and I, and create another webinar that will be informational as well. So look for that.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much again. We really appreciate it. Thank you for everyone who joined us. And I hope you stay safe, stay healthy, and we look forward to seeing you at our next webinar. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.